As you guys can see, the project is coming to a close. I did have the front end picked up the other day. I did not have time to video the process of tearing that apart. I'm sure you guys have seen front ends taken off of motorcycles before. Anyhow, today I want to focus on getting the rest of this bike stripped down. I'd like to have this at a bare frame by the end of today. That way I can get all the rest of the parts listed online and get this lift opened up. I do have another project waiting to come into the building that I'm going to tear down too. So stay tuned for that. You'll see that pretty soon. Hopefully next week I will have parts for the WL. If I do, I'll make another small video of the parts I have received and hanging those on there. But let's get after it. Get this rear section removed so that I can focus on wiring and then motor removal from the frame. It's been a pretty fun project, honestly, getting this bike apart, seeing all the ins and outs of it and learning a few things along the way. I hope you guys have enjoyed the progress videos. Got a pile of parts sitting on the floor there that are waiting for other parts so I can get them listed with their like counterparts. Quite a few of the parts that I have listed online have sold quickly, which has been nice. What's amazing is how many different bolt sizes are on the back of this bike. I'm not sure if that's how this bike comes from the factory or if that's something somebody did along the way, adding bag guards and whatnot on here. That may be something that the previous owner did when they changed this bike over. What I found to be funny was the previous owner did not like the setup with the hard bags. So he got rid of the fairing and the tour pack and the hard bags, but then put soft saddlebags on after the fact. I found that to be wild. I don't know why you would take off hard bags and replace them for soft bags. I'm not going to remove that all the way just yet. Do want to work on getting the turn signal bar removed real quick here. I was hoping to be able to just unplug these, but they are soldered in place, and unfortunately I have to cut the wires. I don't like cutting wires if I don't have to, but unfortunately with this I had to. I'm going to pull this side cover, and there's a connection here for the rear fender, which I'll be able to unplug, and then I can pull the rear fender without having to cut any of the wires on this side. Okay, with that side cover removed, now I should be able to unplug this rear fender, which that unplugged really nicely. We'll back that plug right out of this backing plate, which I was able to. And now we'll replicate the same process on this side of removing all of these bits. Shock's a tight fit. Now that rear fender strut is off. Now I should just have these last two on the inside here, and I should be all set. Wasn't sure if that was turning, it felt like it was just free spinning in there, but must be a long-winded bolt. There's one out. Work on that other side now, and then this rear fender should be free. Oh, I missed a bolt. Let's try to get that back in place. One of the things I didn't realize is there's actually a bolt right through the front of the fender as well. And I know that Harley's done that on and off throughout the years, but I didn't realize this one had that. So I completely overlooked it. There we go. Now the fender is free. And remove the sissy bar as well. There's one FXR rear fender. It's in pretty good shape. A little bent up, a couple of cracks in the back. It looks like I'm going to have to go through and unhook all the circuit breakers in order to pull the wiring back through. So I'll start clipping some of these wire ties. Along with unhooking all of these, I will have to de-pin this connector too in order to back it through the hole. I'll take a few pictures of the wiring so that way I have a reference point, because I want to put it back together the way it was after I've pulled it. That way it just makes it one step easier for the next owner. So far on this bike, I haven't seen a lot of breaks. I haven't seen any breaks in the wiring actually. It's all been in really good shape. Which is nice. On a lot of the older bikes, you see a lot of repairs, you see a lot of wires spliced in, especially bikes that have been converted to a 12-volt system. You see a lot of different things going on with wiring. But so far on this bike, I haven't seen that. I do wonder on these bikes how long the wiring is. If there's a mile of cable on here, or if it's longer than that. It was one of the conversations I had with a buddy of mine the other day. Is how far the wiring has to run from the handlebars back to the breakers or the computer or whatnot, and you wonder how much wiring is in there. With these real modern bikes, it seems to be a ton, and honestly, it feels pretty overwhelming when you look at, say it's new road glide or new street glide, and you look at the massive amounts of wiring running down the backbone. It's pretty intense. Wiring stresses me out. I don't like it. I don't mess with electrical stuff unless I have to. I really don't enjoy it. I know there's people out there that do, that just makes sense to them. It's not me. I'm not good at wiring. Sometimes you have to improvise and use a small screwdriver to depin these properly. Unfortunately, my tool that I've purchased is not a good quality tool, and it doesn't do the job the way I need it to, so I did have to use a small screwdriver to be able to depin this properly. Unfortunately, I'm running into camera issues again. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with this thing. It's a GoPro Hero 8. I know that's not new. I'm not sure what series they're on. But honestly, I've only had it for a few years and I've used it a very limited amount of time. You've seen the videos. I don't know even how many I've made at this point, but I'm not running it that hard, I don't feel. But for whatever reason, I ran through an entire battery in, I don't even know how many minutes I've been working on this thing. And it completely shut off. Not sure what's going on there. I've had battery issues in the past. I've replaced batteries, bought new chargers, done the whole thing. I'm not sure if it's a camera issue, a software issue, I don't know. The thing is supposed to be up to date for what it's showing. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm not sure what we've missed. But anyway, we'll kind of recap on where I was. I was moving the wiring back through the bike. I am removing the oil tank at this point. Once the wiring is to this point here, we'll get the ignition module or ignition switch unhooked. Once the ignition switch is unhooked, then we should have most of the wiring out of the way. With the wiring being out of the way, then I can start working on pulling the motor itself and then removing the rest of the wiring, which there shouldn't be much hooked up at that point. We're close to the end on this bike. This bike is in its final hours of being any resemblance of a motorcycle, which I'm excited about. I'm excited to see this thing in its basic form and basic pieces and ready to go to its new owners. So I'll go back to removing the oil tank. Once that's removed, then I'll continue on the wiring. There's one oil tank removed. I do feel like with the camera, I almost have to keep looking at the secondary screen to see if it's actually recording. And it is. I'm just not sure what happened to it and why it died. I wasn't watching the camera, and unfortunately, it beeped a few times and shut off. Unfortunately, I'm not sure at what point it actually quit and what has been missed. All right, that gets the ignition switch right out of the way there. And from this point, we need to get the wiring off of the coil. So the coil will be free as well. And I know I've got a ground wire on the top of the engine here. For me, this is always the most exciting part, is getting down to the motor. Getting it to the point where I can remove the motor, get the motor set up on a stand, and then have the frame as bare as possible. I still do have to remove the horn. I've got a rectifier, I've got obviously motor mounts, and then I've got the right side brake mount I couldn't quite get to upright, so I'd like to lay the frame on its side and be able to unbolt it that way. I just couldn't get enough leverage. The underside of the frame, of course, is covered in dirt, debris, road grime, just oil and the normal things that the bottom side of a Harley is covered with. Unfortunately, that's making it so I can't actually get to the nuts to get that, or the bolts actually, to get that mount off. Connector was a little too small and someone had drilled it out oval, so unfortunately it did not want to come apart properly. One main wiring harness. It's nice to have that off and out of the way. Coil back in its place for now. Its cover back on, just to kind of keep some of this stuff together. There's a nut that has fallen underneath the frame that I'll have to get momentarily. Alright, with the rectifier unplugged, now it's time to start removing motor mounts. So we'll work on these front two first, and then we'll work on these auxiliary mounts in a second here. We'll start with those and get the right size socket. There is a nut on the bottom that you have to hold in place while you're loosening the top bolt here. One nut, one washer down. Move to the other side here. There we are, that motor is ready to come out. I believe I can tip it out this way. I feel like that's the way it goes. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure if there's anything in the way or if I'll just be able to tip it and cantilever it out. I feel like I can. Quick shout out to Lowbrow Customs. I do buy their engine stands. This is 36 to I think 99 or 98 stand. This does big twins, knucklehead, shovelhead, panhead, Evo, all big twin stuff. They're made real well, they fit real nice. The price point's pretty good, honestly. I've got 2 of them left. I did end up selling a buddy one. I do need to find, or buy more rather. It would be nice to have someone make me a couple. That would be cool if I could have someone actually replicate these in a more of a display type. Because I've got a couple engines I'd like to put up on the wall or on the floor or whatnot that I'm not looking to sell. I've got an old flathead engine I want to stick somewhere. I've got a little twin flathead engine I want to put somewhere. I've got a single engine I want to make a stand for and put somewhere. Just things I've collected over the years that I really like having around that probably won't ever see a motorcycle. I'm not really sure, but for the time being, I'd like to have a place to display them. But anyway, again, thanks to Lowbrow. I buy these from them. They are not sponsoring the channel. It'd be cool if they would, that's for sure. I do buy a lot of goods through Lowbrow. I think they make I think their website's really nice. Their customer service is fantastic. They do ship, relatively fast to me, and they carry an array of parts that is kind of unmatched. So thank you to those guys. I believe I have everything out of the way. I don't think I have anything hooked up yet that would hold me up. Maybe I have one wire hooked here to a plastic tie. A couple of them actually. There's always at least one wire that'll hang you up, so it's a good idea to check and recheck to see what's actually still hooked up and what's in the way. One of the things I'm seeing in the way is this top motor mount. There's not quite enough room to get through with the top frame mount here. So I'm going to go through and remove that. That way it's out of the way. It's one less hindrance. Hopefully then the motor will be completely free and ready to come out. One ground wire to this rear cylinder head here, so I'll have to remove this top nut first before I can remove the actual motor nut itself. Have to keep checking this camera to make sure it's still actually working. It looks like it's recording just fine now. My display, unfortunately, the battery is dying on that already. That doesn't seem to last very long. I did buy a secondary display and a new microphone for this setup. I'd like to know what other people are using out there. What are they using for a microphone, secondary display, if they're doing their own videoing? I mean, obviously, if someone's got a cameraman, then they probably don't need any of those parts or pieces. Unfortunately, I can't afford a cameraman, so it's just me. I do hope to be able to grow the page big enough to be able to support extra help and grow this business and find ways to pay employees. But right now, with it being just me and all of my bills, I don't have a way to afford an extra person. Future goals, right? Gotta have something to work towards. And that's what I'm doing. I'm working towards what's the next steps for Rocky's Chop Shop. What am I going to do in the future? Obviously, I love tearing down motorcycles, and I like selling parts online. That's been a great amount of fun. But I've got a shop space now, and I'd like to advance this and turn this into something more than what I'm currently doing. All right, I think with that being right there, I should be able to tip this motor right out of the way and get it right in the stand. So let's give that a shot. That's it. One motor in a stand, one pretty bare frame. Few parts and pieces left to pull off of this. Like I said, I've got the oil cooler, I've got the rear brake mount, and I've got the horn that I'd like to take off of this bike yet. And then once that's done, obviously clean up the lift and get this whole area organized again and back to looking nice. Now I've got a fair bit of cleanup to do yet. Got some parts left to post online, so those will be happening later today. And thank you guys for watching the progress here, checking the videos out and following this whole project along. It's been a great experience learning about, this type of bike, pulling it down from a complete running, riding motorcycle to obviously pieces. I've learned a few things along the way, seen parts and different things along this journey that I haven't seen on older motorcycles. Obviously with technology changing and the more modern stuff, I'm sure it's vastly different from what I'm seeing right here. But these are the bikes that I have. I don't have anything new to take apart, not yet. Someday I may, I'm not really sure. With the newer bikes, I don't know enough about them yet. It's something I need to learn, I need to read about, I need to get repair manuals on, or even take time to take apart. So it's something I'd like to work with a little more. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys sticking through the video series. I appreciate the comments, I appreciate the likes, I appreciate the subscriptions. And as always, feel free to share with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. That way you can see this type of content. I do have another project that will be here maybe later today, maybe next week. I'm not sure, but that'll be the next bike on the lift. So stay tuned for that. We'll see that soon. As always, thanks for watching.